what happened on day 6 and today on day 7. I'm going to tell you right after this. Hi, good morning, everybody. Spoke too soon about spring because now it's winter again. It's freezing today. So I've got my heater on in here and I'm ready to tell you what happened on day 6 of this trial where New Hampshire is trying Jason Levesque for attempted murder of Kyle Violet. So on this trial is going so slow. We get one witness on day 6, one witness, and that is a police officer. Now, of course, that was after all the motions were denied, the motion to dismiss, the motion for a mistrial, and the motion for the missing witness instruction, all denied. They put a detective on the stand. This detective responded to the scene that night. He had been out on patrol, or he's getting ready to go out on patrol as an extra shift. Because normally he's a detective and he had volunteered to be patrol that night. So when he gets there, his duty at the scene is to take custody of Jason Levesque. He's already been detained by officers that were responding to the scene and got there first. But this officer takes him into custody, puts him into his vehicle, and drives him to the police station, and then does his detective work and conducts an interview. So we don't get to see the interview, which apparently was captured on his body cam. The entire interview is on his body cam. But the prosecution does not show it. What they do is they give the officer, the detective, a transcript. He's got a transcript. The judge has got a transcript. The other lawyers, everybody's got a transcript except the jury and us. And he is walking him through certain portions of the interview. So we're not getting to see the entirety of the interview. So I'm going to talk about the portions that he walked him through. First, he realizes this guy's exhausted, or that he's very tired, and he offers him a cup of coffee and a Slim Jim. He says, there's no way to get like food at that hour. It's almost 10:30 at night. So he has Jason walk him through what happened. And he says at no time was there ever a weapon visible on Kyle Violet. And then he talks about this conditional threat that he made nose to nose, like he was right here making this threat. If you plow that snow into my driveway, I will kill you and your family. Then he starts to walk away. This is all stuff that Jason is telling the officer. Started to turn around and come back. This is when he drew his weapon and pointed it at him. He kept coming at him. He had his hands in a fist, so nothing in his hands, and as if he was going to attack him or take the gun. This is what he was afraid of, that he was going to be attacked or Kyle was going to take the gun. And prior to that, he had the gun in his waistband. So he tells the officer he was coming at me and going to take the gun and hurt me. He gave me a look like it's you or me. After the first shot, he turned and continued to walk and came at him. So this is twice now he said that. He didn't go down, even though that's what we see on the video. He goes down after the first shot. And he said that it was his intention not to kill him, but to stop him from coming at him. He doesn't know where he shot him. He flinched as though he was reacting to the noise. He was talking about Kyle. He said when he fired that first shot, Kyle flinched like he was reacting to the noise. So after that, he fired the additional 5 rounds. He said Kyle was holding himself, like his abdomen, and walking away towards his home. So then he gets back into his truck, takes the magazine out of the clip out. So this is how he knows, he emptied the gun. He put the gun up on the dashboard and he attempted to call 911, but he heard the sirens, so he didn't put the call through. He said probably didn't even press send. And then he told his daughter, "I'm sorry that shouldn't have happened in front of you." And he admits that he had been up all day the day before. He didn't go into work till 10 o'clock, but he had been up the entire day. He wasn't aware that he had to go to work that night. I mean, he knew he was going to have to snowplow, but he thought the snow was going to be much later. So, and he says, maybe if I hadn't been up that long, it wouldn't have happened. So that's the interview. And then on cross-examination, the defense attorney says, now, wouldn't it be helpful to the jury to see this interview? And he's like, well, no, we read to you what he said. And he goes, well, wouldn't it be helpful for the jury to see what he looked like after working over 24 hours or being up for over 24 hours and being exhausted? And he says, well, yeah, I guess it probably would help. So at that point, there was a lot of sidebars because I don't know why they didn't want the jury to see this video. But I guess they settled on the very first portion of the video, and that's when the officer gets to the scene, takes custody of Kyle, puts him in the vehicle, takes him to the police station. So during all this, the jury is watching this on a video, gets to see it, gets to see Jason. Did I say Kyle again? They get to see Jason being taken into custody, put in the vehicle, taken to the police station. So they get to see his level of exhaustion. And so we don't get to see the interview. And I can't even show you that because, like I said, the TV's turned at this weird angle and you can't see anything. And that took the entirety of the day yesterday. 7 hours because you got breaks and lunch and sidebars, So this morning, the defendant, they did their motion to dismiss, which is done at the end of the state's case. The state rested yesterday afternoon after this officer took the stand. State rests. So this morning, they come in, they argue this motion to dismiss, denied. The defendant takes the stand. So he talks about how he was actually born at Frisbee Memorial Hospital, where they took Kyle, that first hospital where they took Kyle. He's lived in this area all his life. At the time, he was living with his mom and dad. They lived in the front part of the home, and he and his daughter lived in the other part of the home. He said he has sole custody of her since she was 16 years old, that there were issues with the mom. We don't know what the issues were, but he got sole custody. At some point, she came in with the bunny rabbit, and he explained that she was a very nervous driver, so that because when she was learning to drive, she ran into her parents' garage. So she didn't get her driver's license till she was 18, and she was 19 at the time of the shooting. She's now 20 years old. So he said he had never had any interaction with Angela LaChance, which is Kyle Levesque. I'm sorry, I'm getting all these names mixed up. Kyle Violet's long-term girlfriend, 22 years, and the mother of their children. He said she's the only person he had ever seen go in and out of that house. for a long time. He does eventually see Kyle, but never saw the daughter. Never saw the daughter. Didn't know there was a daughter there. And that might be because the daughter would spend Monday through Friday at her grandparents' house because she was going to this particular school she wanted to go to, and then she would come home on the weekends. But he had had no interaction with Kyle until October or November of 2023. There was a couple of incidents. One, he was outside pressure washing his house when Kyle comes out, and he's running erratically around the driveway, and he comes up to him and says, you're a fucking rat. I'm going to kill you and your family. He says, he never even saw him before this. Never didn't know who the guy was. So he just goes into his house and just, stays in there. Then it happens again later that evening. Later that evening, he's out in his garage tooling around, and Kyle is walking past with another gentleman, and Kyle confronts him again and says, you're an effing rat. I'm going to kill you and your family. Now, at this point, he says, I just go back into my garage, shut the door, but after that, he goes and buys cameras and installs them all around his house because he's afraid of this guy. So now I'm wondering, what is wrong with Kyle Violet? Does he have some kind of psychiatric condition that he goes off on the neighbors, for no reason? I don't know. I really would like to see his psychiatric history at this point because I'm questioning it. And I will tell you, this guy on the stand, his demeanor is so good. Jason's, he just seems like a very pleasant guy. Doesn't seem like he's quick to anger. But you never know. You never know about somebody. But he's making a good witness on his own behalf. So fast forward to April 3rd, the day before the shooting. Jason gets up that morning. He has breakfast. He wakes up about 8 o'clock, has breakfast, and then he had made the decision he was going to paint the dining room. So he's painting the dining room. He gets a call about 6 o'clock that night, or he gets a text from his boss that the start time was going to be 10 p.m. Now, he had thought it was going to be much later, the snow, but apparently this storm came earlier. So he only had time to clean up his dining room mess and get something to eat. Then he has to go retrieve the snowplow, which he stores behind the Home Depot. So he goes and he gets his truck. During the year when he's not snowplowing, he does car audio and electronic installation. Probably something on his own. He doesn't work for anybody. He does it out of his driveway. But he said he plowed the entire night, all night of the 4th. And that the evening of April 4th, he was finally done. He said the snow slowed down that afternoon for a little while, but then it got heavy again. So he's still plowing. Finally, around 10 p.m., he gets to go home. He wants to pick up his daughter on the way home. She's working at a pizza place, and he had told her not to drive her car to work that night because he didn't want her out in that snow. So he had driven her to work and was going to drive her home because she doesn't have a 4-wheel drive. So he picked her up from her pizza parlor job, and they proceeded to go home. Now, he had been plowing all night. He talked about the contracts that they have. He works for this company. They have 45 different contracts: hospitals, urgent cares, police departments, courts, auto parts stores, gas stations, nothing residential. He mentioned that he had an agreement with, he lives at 41. Kyle lives at 43 on this street, street number. And he said he had an agreement with the neighbor at 39 to plow the snow in front of his house because there was really nowhere to put the snow. So he had agreed with 39 that he would put the snow there. And that's what he was in the process of doing that night, plowing his own driveway. And he had stopped his vehicle to put it into four-wheel drive. You have to get out and manually do that. So he gets out of the vehicle to do that. And I'm going to let him tell you the rest here.
Now I'm coming closer to the landscaping, try and get what's on the sidewalk, keep it clean. Again, I haven't been asked telephone.
At any point, did you distribute any of that snow on Violet driveway?
No, sir. Here I am, opening the door.
Yeah, we can stop right there. You're opening the door. What's the reason we can stop right there?
The reason is that I'm going out to engage the hubs so I can put it in four-wheel drive. As I mentioned earlier, my boss called and asked me to go and put an application in for it, so I had no salt in the vehicle. Typically, we keep our salt full so that you use the weight of the vehicle to push the snow and you're not being hard on the equipment. The weight of the vehicle will do most work for you, as opposed to if you have like a half-ton truck or three-quarter-ton truck, you really need to put some effort into moving this. But a vehicle that size with all the weight of that, it's effortless. So I'm getting ready to back drive my driveway without any weight in the back. The wheels are just going to stand there. So when I put in four-wheel drive, I'm able to move that weight back, the snow backwards, without having to weight in the back.
Okay, so it was your intention then to lock the hubs, right?
That's correct.
And then you were going to continue on with some plowing.
That's correct.
And what plowing was it your intent to continue doing?
At this point, once I had the hubs locked, my intent was to go into my driveway, approximately a vehicle length or more, and back drag it out, and then bank it up over onto 39, the grass of 39. Again, pull forward almost to the garage, back drag that back out to the sidewalk, push it to 39, and then do that also by the fence. Again, a small back drag, and the rest of the back drag, and bank it to 39.
Right. Then I assume then call it a night.
Yes, then go in and go to sleep fine.
Okay. And before we start it up again, we see an individual in the driveway. Did you notice the individual at that point in time when you were getting out of the truck?
When I was getting out of the truck, I did not notice anything.
And can you tell the jury, why don't we roll it? Why don't you tell the jury when you first noticed this?
From this video, I'm not exactly sure when, but I obviously kneeled down to walk. I don't pause it for a moment.
Yeah.
So I don't believe I've seen him at this point because I wouldn't have kneeled down to my hub to lock the hub if I would have seen the individual approaching, especially after the interaction in October, November. So I'm going to have to make it into something. I don't know for sure, but at this point, I don't believe I've noticed him because I would have kept my eyes on him.
How did it come to your attention that somebody was approaching?
When I stood up, I noticed there was a gentleman approaching me.
Were you up right there?
No, it looks to me that I'm still bent down locking the hub.
Okay. How do we continue?
I'm standing up now.
Okay, hold it. And that would have been the initial confrontation.
Yeah, it looks like I did bend back down. Again, trying to keep up with how it's playing.
Okay.
But he has not approached me yet. He's still working towards me. Oh, now I've stood back up.
Okay. Were you surprised to see him?
I was very surprised.
Had you done anything to cause him any agitation prior to that confrontation?
No, sir. I had not had any interaction with that evening at all.
When he came right up to you, can you tell the jury if he said anything to you?
He said, if you put any stone in front of my house, I'll fucking kill you and your family.
Did that make any sense to you at all?
No, it did not. I had not moved any stone.
Now, we've been talking, and we've seen this video a few times, and we're trying to describe just how close he was. We're going to have other videos done. Can you describe to the jury how close he was to you?
When he made his initial approach to me, he was finding a resting spot with his nose up against my face.
I mean, I'm gonna walk up to you and you tell me when to stop.
Okay.
Got it?
Absolutely.
I'm walking. Which side did he approach you?
He approached me on this side.
Still closer?
Close.
Can't get it, because it's too big. How about there?
Here you go.
He actually touched you.
Yes, sir.
Touched you with his face?
Yes.
How'd that make you feel, Jay?
Uncomfortable.
Feel good.
Absolutely.
Do you have any idea what this guy was gonna do?
I do not.
So he touches you with his body right on your face, and he says he's gonna fucking kill you.
That's correct. In my family.
Did this give you a little flashback of October or November?
It-
Again, while this was going on, was your daughter with you?
She was.
And where was she?
She was in the passenger seat.
She was staying in the truck, from what you know?
I believe so, yes.
So this guy's up against you, literally, flesh on flesh.
Yes.
And is he calmly saying things, or what's his tone of voice?
No, he's extremely agitated. He's yelling at me. He repeated himself at the end. If you put snow in front of my yard, I'll fucking kill you and your family.
Again, did that make any sense at all?
It didn't. I was frozen. I didn't know what to think. I was confused by this.
Now, there's been testimony, of course, we're gonna get to some points here in your testimony, that you were carrying a firearm.
That's correct.
And is that typical of you in certain situations, or what's the deal?
It is behind Home Depot where we park the vehicles and we grab our salt. I had an altercation earlier that year where a gentleman came out of nowhere, approached me as I was getting in the vehicle. He brandished a machete, and I was able to move away from him. We did call the police, and I believe they came and got him. There was no further interactions. But at that point, I decided that my safety was not worth putting in jeopardy going forward.
All right, so when you were doing night plowing jobs and going behind Home Depot, it was typical of you to carry a firearm.
That's correct.
All right, and this night was no different.
That's correct.
Okay, why don't we run the film? Okay,
See
well,
here, he's-
hold it. I'll ask a question.
Whatever, I can rewind this a little bit.
Go back a little. What's going on here?
So now he's made the couple of threats about the snow to me. Then he starts on, you don't believe me? I'll
Okay,
kill
what do you mean by that? What does he say?
The first two times, or I believe he said, if you put snow in front of my house, I'll kill you and your family. And then he continues with, you don't believe me? I'll fucking kill you and your family.
That's what he said.
Yes.
Why don't we move? How many times does he approach you like that? Hold on.
It was, I believe, 3 or 4.
Is he saying the same stuff over and over?
He is.
How's that making you feel?
I'm still frozen. I wasn't sure I didn't feel comfortable. I felt like he was enraged. I felt like he was going to harm me and my face. But this time, I was hoping that hopefully he would.
Where we go? Again, hold it. Is that another interaction?
That was another interaction where he came right up to my face, nose to face, and threatened to kill me and my family.
Did that have anything to do with snow at the time, or was he just threatening?
Not after the first time or two. He came just, you don't believe me? I'll kill you and your family. The snow was no longer a factor. Now it was just, he was angry. He wanted to hurt me and my family.
Where we go? Okay, he's backing off here.
He is.
I stop.
He did.
Now what happened?
Now he's pointing at me.
What's he saying?
He's saying, I'm going to kill you and your family.
Stop.
You don't fucking believe me?
Okay. Now what's going on?
He's approaching me again, telling me that he's going to kill me and my family.
You believe in him?
I am now.
All right, well, we're Okay, is that when you approach him?
Yeah, I think you should probably go back there.
Yep, while we go back. Start there.
So now he's approaching me again. Now I've decided the threat is real. He, instead of going home, he's now approaching me again. I drew my firearm and I fired at him.
All right. Did you even know, let's get straight with this. Did you even aim or anything like that?
To the best of my ability, I aimed at the object coming at me. For the person I choose, the object person. Yeah.
All right. And what do you see after you fire that first shot?
I see him go down.
We should start it up. And then what?
Then I see there was a pause, kind of surprised by the whole thing that happened, you know. I kind of blanked out when I fired the first shot. Then it was like a flash of TV, the TV goes up, comes back on. I saw him getting up, heading towards my front steps, and then I fired again.
No, there's been some question as to how many shots you fired and so forth. And we played this video, we played videos in slow motion and everything else.
Yes,
Would you agree things happen fairly quickly?
it happened extremely quickly.
Can you tell the jury if you even remember pulling the trigger 5 more times?
I don't remember pulling the trigger the first time, and I don't remember hearing a gunshot. Any of them.
But I mean, obviously, you know you used the firearm.
Yes.
How did you come to the conclusion that 5 shots or 6 shots were fired?
I know that there was one in the chamber, 5 in the magazine, and when I was done, the slide was jacked, which would indicate that the firearm was empty.
Okay. And that tipped you off that you had did it?
That is correct.
Why don't we play it through a little bit here? As you're going back, he's still moving?
Yep, I saw him crawling that way. I heard a female coming from over here. I noticed they did not go to my steps. So at this time, I pay attention to what they're doing. They see another female coming. I go back to the truck to check on my daughter.
So you check on your daughter, and then what do you do?
Check on my daughter. I'm trying to process what's all just happened. I get in the truck. Talked to her and I said, I'm sorry. You had to see that. She said, no, you're just protecting me. I go to put the truck in drive mode in the driveway. She says to me, what are you doing? And I made a poor joke. Should we run? As I was driving in the driveway. It was an ill-placed joke, but at the time I was kind of in shock and I guess I was using something to lighten the situation best.
Why don't we stop it, and why don't you resume the witness?
Counsel, just so the record is clear, I know that all.
So that is how he explains what happened that night. This is all before lunchtime today. They have now broke for lunch. We will hear the cross-examination of Jason Levesque tomorrow. Well, we'll hear it today, but I will recap for you tomorrow. I don't know that they have any other witnesses, the defense. So it's likely to get to the jury today. If there's a verdict, I'll let you know. But things have moved very, very slowly in this case. So we'll see if it gets to a jury today. So that's it for today. Have a wonderful day, whether it's spring or winter or whatever it is, wherever you are. Let me know what you think of this case in the comments. I read all your comments. Have a great day, everybody. Take care. Bye.